Um, not at the moment.
Alright, so then we can just go ahead and get started, and I'll be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Group up with power of destruction.
Smoke him out of there.
Alright, so have we gone over Ash previously? Trying to...
No.
No, we have not? Alright, so we've gone over a bunch of different characters. So we've gone over Sombra Soldier, Hanzo Sim, and then last time we went over Sombra Sim, Junkrat. Alright, so, just again, keeping on the point we've made previously, I believe, right, of, just watching out for spreading yourself thin, but, I mean, that's up to you and how you approach that. So, in any case, Ash gameplay, how to use your unscoped versus scoped shots. So, you should be only ever using your unscoped shots in certain situations, right? Certain situations where you'd use your unscoped shots is when somebody is right in on top of you, right? So, for example, let's say someone is Moira's distance away from us, right? Right, our Moira that's on our team, right? Let's say someone's that close to us. We might want to unscope because if we're scoping in, then that's going to mean that we're moving slowly and we have a limited visibility, and it's going to make it easier for them to kill us, right? Whereas if we were to unscope, that would higher our mobility and visibility, right? And be able to shoot them a little bit better, right? We can also use our unscope to finish off somebody who's low, but really only if they're at like a medium distance away from you, because sometimes if they're really far away, even unscoped shots can be hard to finish them off with, right? And then besides that, you can also use it if you're trying to melt something down really, really fast. Though you have to keep in mind that this is a big waster of ammo. So a lot of times it's only gonna be a thing in certain situations. So for example, maybe like a ball is in your team and he's rolling away. Sometimes you can unscope him and that can melt him down a little bit faster than your scope shots, but it will just melt through your ammo. So for the majority of the time, probably like in 85-90% of the time, you're going to be using your scoped shots, whereas here we come in and we do some unscoped shots on the shield, which don't really do very much for us, and we do some unscoped shots on the hog, which we probably should definitely not be doing. We should probably be scoping in here, right? And then and then that melts through most of our ammo. We have to reload. All right, now we scope in. Okay, and then we go for more unscoped shots, and then more unscoped shots, and we also don't detonate our dynamite there. So here, let's see. First off, I would probably recommend going for dynamite a little bit earlier in this fight. So we do go. Actually, never mind. We do go for dynamite earlier, but we're getting it back right now. It's on 4 seconds left, 3 seconds left. Okay, so we do throw it actually relatively fast after we get it. I just didn't notice that. Alright. Though here we could have detonated it on the Baptiste, but we don't end up detonating it. You are familiar with how to detonate the dynamite, yeah?
Yeah, shoot it.
Exactly. So here we just kind of look away to shoot at the Baptiste instead of trying to detonate it, and then that potentially was an easy kill we could have gone for.
That's better.
Okay, yeah. So far, our scoped versus unscoped should be like 90% scoped, and it's looking more so like 65% unscoped, right? Which is way, way too much unscoped. So, right, like that alone would be like one of the biggest things you could possibly be doing to improve your Ashe gameplay is just the fundamental misunderstanding of how Ashe's gun works, right? Okay, very nice. Okay, probably going for dynamite there. Very nice. Okay, more in-scope shots.
Here it comes.
You're going to be okay.
Oh, backing up into a car. Paying attention to where the cars are at.
I've sighted the enemy. Smoke him out.
Okay, going for more unscoped shots, going for dynamite, though I do like that we looked away from it once we saw that it was doing nothing. That's a good habit to be in. Alright. we're gonna talk about something in a minute. Okay, more unscope shots. And then we throw dynamite like at our feet there, and then we boop ourselves into dynamite. So, like, overall, it seems like we're just kind of going through one brain fart after another at the moment, right? We run into cars, and then we throw dynamite at ourselves, right? So we want to make sure we're focusing on what we're doing, and we're not kind of going through our gameplay, not thinking about what we're doing.
I need to recharge.
Right.
My ultimate.
So we've talked about a lot of positional things before, right? Like if we scroll back up and we go to main points of last session, we had positioning / survivability is 1, ability usage is 2, awareness is 3, mechanics is 4, ult usage is 5, right? So we have that list, right? And we'll think about positioning real quick for a moment here. What is one thing in the last 2 minutes ish that we've yet to do?
Get on
Positioning
the high
wise.
ground.
Get on the high ground, exactly, right? And on this map, there's quite a lot of high grounds, right? We have this high ground right in the middle. We have this high ground on the top left. Or I guess that's quite a lot meaning too. So there actually isn't quite a lot, but I mean, there's a lot of different high grounds in which we can take, and we can take high grounds very very easily by using our coach gun to get to them, right? You look down, you coach gun, and then you get boosted up to the high ground, right? We can acquire that very very easily. So we should probably be looking to take a high ground like first chance we get here, and definitely in between fights, now that we've won it, we should be looking to retake a high ground. And I'd probably say retaking the middle high ground probably be the best place for us, as it gives us kind of the best angles to work with. And then if we ever don't have a chance to go for the middle, I'd go top left, right? So just different positionings that would probably be better than where we're currently standing. Want to hopefully look to take that, but as of the moment, it's looking like we're not taking high ground again, right? Which we talked all of last session over and over and over again. Why high ground was great, right? So I don't think that's a point that I have to repeat. Open up with dynamites, right? Like we seem to go for the shots first and then dynamite second. So let's talk about that real quick. So dynamites is a really great opener because you want to get them out as fast as possible, right? Because if you think of it like this, right? If you throw your first dynamite at the very beginning of a fight, right? Then that means that you're able to, before the fight ends, you're able to get 2 or 3 in. Whereas if you throw your first dynamite like 5-10 seconds into the fight, well, now you might only be able to get 1 or 2 in because the fight might end faster than you're able to charge up the next cooldown. So the faster you use it, the more you can fit into the fight. And then on top of that, the greater chance, like here for example, the greater chance it is that they're not going to just walk away from it if you're using that as your engagement, right? And it's it does 120 damage on the character. So, or actually, sorry, it does less now, doesn't it? I don't remember how much they nerfed it to, but it still does a big beefy chunk of their HP on a big group of people. And we want to get that out first, whereas a lot of our dynamites have been missing so far. We've actually missed the majority of them. Like if we were to skip backwards and go through like all of our dynamites, right? Like we so far, we can just like kind of skip around, right? We can go every time we use them. Right, so we go dynamite 1. This was a. Alright, I think this was like a miss or something. Actually, let me just go to 5 seconds. That might be easier, actually. So first dynamite, we miss. It doesn't do anything. Right, we throw it straight at a shield. Make sure we're not throwing it at shields. Right. Second dynamite, we threw up at the Baptiste and didn't detonate, and that missed. And then third dynamite, what would we do with third dynamite? Third dynamite, we throw in there, and that misses. So 3 dynamites in a row that we miss. Right. Then we skip forwards, and we throw down another dynamite. This one hits. This one we connect with. So that's that's now 1 out of 4 that we've landed. We throw another dynamite. That one bounces off of him, and it does hit. So that's that's 2 out of 5. We hit ourselves on the road. We come back. Right, let's see how we use this one. Okay, this one we missed. So that's now 2 out of 6 that we've landed. Okay, let's see. This one we land on ourselves. So the monkey does technically run into this one, but I honestly would count this as a total fail with the dynamite because we detonate it on ourselves, and then also the monkey just runs into it on his own accord. Like we don't even land it correctly on him. So I would probably not. We'll count this in like a middle tier, like it. Or I don't know. I probably say this is not a successful dynamite. So this is probably like another So now it's 2 out of 7, right? Successful uses, Right, this dynamite is now 2 out of 8. Right, so
Get into position.
right, so 2 successful dynamites out of 8 dynamites in total. We'll just skip around here. You know, we don't have to pay attention to what's going on. Okay, another dynamite. That one we missed. We might talk about how to hit them correctly here, but that one we missed. We'll talk about that in a moment here, but that's now 2 out of 9 successful dynamites. Alright, let's see, how do we use this one? Okay, that one we don't even detonate. Right, and we don't attempt to detonate, so that's now 2 out of 10. Alright, we'll just skip around until we go over this, and then that basically means we don't have to even touch on dynamite again during the session. We'll just know that we already talked about it. Alright, so we messed up coach gun. We'll talk about how to do that successfully in the future. Okay, another mess up, so that's now 2 out of 11. Alright. Okay, and then we messed up that one, so that's 2 out of 12. So I think you get the point. I don't think we have to go any further. Dynamite's not doing so hot at the moment, right? Whereas we want to make sure we're actually detonating them, right? So we're at 4 minutes, or I guess no, we were earlier. We were like 3 minutes. So let's talk about a couple things here. So both ability usages. So with our dynamite, right? You want to make sure we're detonating it, because if we're not detonating it, then they can just walk away from it. And probably like 3/4 of our dynamites, we never ended up actually detonating it. We just kind of let it sit there, right? Which is not what we want to be doing. If we just throw it at them and let it sit there, well, then they have plenty of time to see it and run away, because it has a 3-second detonation period after it lands, right? So they have probably like 4 or 5 seconds in total where they're able to go, oh, that's a dynamite, let me run away from it, right? So if we were to detonate it, well, now they only have 1 second, because we can throw it in and then detonate it the second it gets there, and then boom, now instead of 5 seconds or 4 seconds, they have 1 single second, right, of time to react to it, which gives them a lot less room to work with, right? So there's a very massive difference between the two. Now, how can we hit dynamite effectively, right? Well, there's a really easy way to do this, and that is to just throw it forwards, stand still, and look straight at where we throw it, right? And then that means that the dynamite will actually travel through our crosshair to hit the person, and all we have to do is just press the shoot button, right? So we didn't move our crosshair at all. We just stood still and pressed detonate. Now, if you're at a longer range, you might not want to stand still, because that means you're going to be standing still for like 3 seconds of time, but I'll show you again, right? We just kind of throw it in there. Oh, a little early there, right? So sometimes if you're throwing it further away, you might have to drag your crosshair down a tiny little bit, but this is roughly, it's going to be roughly the same area. We just have to adjust a tiny bit to detonate it, right? The tiniest little bit. So here, we throw it in, right? I look down a tiny bit, and then it's very, very easy, because it's going to be basically where my crosshair's at, right? So we'll try one more, right? We're throwing our dynamite in. This time I'm gonna scope in, because we're far away from it, so it might make it a little bit easier. But stop it! I did it too early, right? But we're essentially just letting it travel into the path of our crosshair, right? So even if we wanted to, we could even like toss it in and then look downwards and then let it wait till it detonates, right? So we can do something like this, right? Where I just put my crosshair below it and then waited until it just fell into my crosshair, right? Because I knew it was going to go to that place. Now let's talk about coach gun real quick, right? Coach gun, to go upwards, you want to look down, right? Because if you coach gun this way, you're going to go backwards. If you coach gun this way, you're going to go that way, right? You go in the opposite direction in which you aim your coach gun, and therefore if we look straight down and we walk forwards, we can just go upwards and forwards, right? If we wanted to go, and that's what you're going to do most of the time that you're trying to go forwards, is you're just going to look straight down, right? If you don't look straight down, let's say we aim it this way, well, now instead of going forward, like straight up, we're going to go backwards with it. So we want to make sure we're looking straight down. Alternatively, you can also look backwards and look like this, and then this will also send you diagonally up, right? So that's another way you can do it, right? Both basically do the same thing, though one might get you a little bit less height, right? And then that is pretty much it. That all makes sense in terms of how to use your abilities.
Welcome to Oasis. Ready for battle.
May I take your order?
Get in there, Bob. Get into position.
So, now we've talked in depth on Ashe's abilities. You basically don't, or besides maybe Coach Gun, I'll talk more about, but Dynamite, we've talked about it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It's bad. We need to get better at it. Focus more on how we're landing our Dynamites, right? And then Coach Gun we might talk a bit more about. Okay, more in scope data range. That is definitely one of the biggest things during that you could possibly be working on here on Ashe, just because it's such a fundamental misunderstanding of how her gun works, right? So I said that already though.
Do something.
Okay, a little bit early of a bob. Actually, actually, never mind. I think this is interesting. I'd probably say this is going to get a decent bit of value because we're throwing Bob in when the tanks are forward, so it does cut the tanks off. Though I would say that there's a good chance that they melt Bob. It probably is going to do a good job of keeping the supports at bay. All right. Okay. More unscoped shots. Okay, yep, so Bob got a kill. Okay, so that was actually pretty good Bob placement. Now I thought about it more. Right. And then here we just kind of fully back away from the fight. Okay. Okay, you probably just toss in a dynamite in there.
Fire in the hole.
Here we can coach gun up to high ground if we're trying to get away from the hog.
This will protect us.
And again, noting that we have not taken high ground yet.
Excuse me for dropping in.
Okay, here we try to take high ground, but instead of looking straight down, we look to sideways with it, and we look diagonally, which ends up sending us into the building instead of onto the building.
Fire in the hole.
All right, you cannot shoot through that, unfortunately.
Smoke them out of there. This will restore you. Rendezvous at my position.
Okay, yet again, instead of looking straight down, we're looking kind of diagonally, which is not going to be what we want to do there. Oh, excuse me. Okay, whenever we're trying to throw dynamite at a character that has shields, or at characters that are protected by shields, we want to throw the dynamites up in the air. This means that if Reinhardt were to put up his shield right now, it would not block the dynamite, but we could get it over the shield. So this means that if he puts up his shield, which he does in a moment here, we're going to be incapable of getting, actually hitting it. And then on top of that here, we kite around the corner, we just end up flat up missing the dynamite, make sure we're trying to detonate it, and then we're aiming where we throw it. Alright.
I'm under attack.
And then we have talked about Hanzo, yeah. Just checking our notes real quick. So we did go over Hanzo and Soldier briefly. All right, on the first round, looks like. So yep, we have discussed him.
Thank you.
I've sighted the enemy.
See through the wolf's eye.
Yeah, make sure you're requesting healing. Yeah, there you go. Oh, Hog gets us, right? So, every time we're dying, right, we obviously don't want to be dying, so we take a look at our deaths and we think, what do we do wrong? What could we have fixed? And we've maybe discussed this before, but the 4 reasons why you could be dying are lack of awareness, poor positioning, being over aggressive, and then also misuse of abilities. And we want to identify which one was it, so that we can look to stop that from happening and counteract it and whatnot. What would you say was the reason why we died here?
Probably awareness.
Probably awareness, right? Because if we are listening and keeping our ears open, and we're watching the left side, and we see on the front line, oh, they don't have a second tank with them on their front line. Where's their second tank at? Right. So if we're just being aware of our surroundings, well, now maybe we don't end up getting hooked here, right? Or if we notice him right as he's turning the corner, we don't get hooked, right? So awareness, I would agree. Awareness is probably the thing here, and then that means that we end up dying, and then we also get down to 20 HP because we weren't requesting healing. So make sure we're watching our health bar and requesting healing as well.
The wolf.
Okay, and then that was our impact on losing that fight, since we weren't there to do anything and we were putting our team at a disadvantage. Okay. We've talked about cross replacement before, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So, here, just look at where our crosshair's placed, right? If we were to just look at where it is in comparison to these guys, right? Where we're looking down on top of them, and then on top of that, on Hanzo, I think we talked about this, but if not, we have to aim a little bit above people's heads, as he does have a very, very slight drop off. So at this distance, if we were to look at his head, those shots would probably hit his body, right? So instead, we need to aim slightly above his head, and then our shots will drop into his head. So here we're aiming pretty low. This is gonna just be a guaranteed body shot. So cross replacement's not the best there, right? Where we just like, in fact, all those shots just hit the floor beneath him. It didn't even hit his feet, right?
My will made real.
My ultimate is charging.
Yeah, probably toss in a Sonic there. Yeah, like that. That's good. We end up wasting a lot of the Sonic, the Storm Arrow there. Oh. Okay, when you're not shooting anybody, you're not gonna be shooting anybody anytime soon, right? So like here, right here, we're not gonna be shooting anybody for the next like 5 seconds, right? We have line of sight on nobody, so therefore, cancel the arrow. You can do this by, I believe, just pressing right click, and then this will stop the arrow. You can also just shoot it, but I'm pretty sure right click would be like a it would stop it from shooting, and then that way maybe it doesn't reveal your position or something of that sort, right? And it would just cancel the shot, right? That way you're not moving super slowly, because here we just kind of waddle around because we're still holding our arrow, and we waddle, and we waddle, and we waddle, and then that's putting us out of the fight for an extended period of time is the issue there. Alright, so we end up with our storm arrows. We end up whiffing a lot of the shots, right? Like here, we end up we shoot the Reinhardt, and then like he just I don't know. Like it's every time we're throwing it, it seems as though we're using it and we're not even paying attention to who's there and what our crosshairs on. We just fire off all the storm arrows, even if we're not even looking in the general direction of people. So we'll keep our eye on it from now on and just try to see it. But like we kind of did that the last time I used it when we were like over here, and we just kind of fired it off on nothing. So like it was like right here, and we pop storm arrows, and then just watch how we kind of like just whiff every single shot, because we're not even looking, we're not even like aiming, we're aiming at his feet there. Maybe fire it off a bit slower, unless you see that that your cross is already on top of them, is an idea, right? Like it's just preserve it a little bit longer than just firing it off all immediately, right? And make sure paying attention to the hog on our left and awareness again. Okay, here we just fire off like 4 unscoped shots in a row.
See through the wolf's eyes.
Muchaquero. Group up with me.
I cast this forth.
Okay.
The wolf marks his prey.
All right. What is the issue here? Like, what did we maybe do wrong, or what should we have done? What's happening in the fight right now that is causing a problem?
That Duran got pinned.
Okay.
Uh,
Maybe just throwing out the idea is because 3 of us chased one single hog and took way too long trying to finish him off, and the hog still got away. We accomplished nothing while putting our Reinhardt at a 1 versus 4 disadvantage, right? Or 1 versus 5, right? So right now, our Reinhardt is 1v1, 2, 3, 4, 5, while we tried to 1v3 a hog, and we didn't even kill their Reinhardt, right? So now our Reinhardt's about to die here in a moment, right? Our Reinhardt's gonna die, right? Reinhardt's dead, right? So our Reinhardt's dead, and that's because we failed to kill hog and took way too long. So in that instance, because we had waited before the fight had ended and we waited an additional 10 seconds, right? That means that we only had 10 seconds to kill off the hog, and we probably didn't have time to do that. So it would have been better if we just ignored the hog and maybe put a sonic arrow to make sure nobody got hooked by him, right? something of that sort. Right? It would have been better in this situation for us to just not have chased Hog than to have abandoned our front line in search of him, right? Because here we didn't accomplish anything while putting our team at a massive disadvantage, right? Because we gave up point, we gave up, our Reinhardt was there by himself. So, and then here we're just completely out of the fight while our team's fighting, right? So here we did pretty much absolutely nothing for an entire fight, while our team was trying to fight the fight, right? So like here, the fight begins around now, right? And we go for a shot, right? And then we sit here, and so now we're spending so much time outside of this fight when we could be participating. Okay, you guys are currently down a person. Are you down a person for the rest of the game? 7:30. No, you get your player back. Okay, so we're at 7:30. Probably say in this instance you're not gonna want to use your drag. Yeah, because it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus a 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, maybe winnable. Maybe winnable, but okay. Yeah, that's fine. Especially if we get the junk grab with that. Yeah, so we do get the junk grab with that.
Healing it up.
Okay. Here.
The wolf feasts.
Okay, we get pretty pretty aggressive here. Like we have Reaper contesting as of the current moment. We don't need to be touching point, right? So we currently do still have Reaper there, and we decide to step on the point and get aggressive, and the Reaper's about to die there. Reaper does die there, but we step on the point a little bit early, and they also just whiff every single shot, so just mechanics.
Heal up here.
There we drop a health pack when it really didn't do very much in particular. Okay, very nice.
Group up with me. Group up at my position.
Alright, let's just do a really quick strengths weaknesses just to get us recapped. Just so we see where we're working at for now. I probably would say that positioning slash survivability is not the main point of today's session. You definitely should be taking high grounds a lot more. Even on this map, you have a left side and right side we could be taking. So we want to be making sure we're taking off angles, as we spent pretty much every moment of this game on a front line, right? Taking a frontal angle instead of taking left and right and taking off angles. We have been taking high ground. So the positioning still is a thing, though I think we're doing much better on survivability. We're not dying a ton. But then things that are a big issue is ability usage. Ability usage has been a pretty massive issue on like all the characters. Like on Hanzo, we probably out of all the storm arrows that we used, we probably only like 1 out of 5 hit most of the shots, right? And then with the others, we didn't really do very much with it. We just kind of whiffed every shot, right? On Ashe's dynamite, we whiffed pretty much every single dynamite, and then we also coach gun and messed up our coach gun to the high ground a couple times, right? On Soldier, we've thrown down health pack once, and then is this twice in an unnecessary situation, right? So we want to make sure we're paying attention to the health bar of our teammates around us. So here we drop a health pack. When if you look top right, pretty much every single person on our team is full HP. Health pack is not needed in this instance, right? So health pack's not doing great. Sprinting, yeah, maybe a little bit, but then Helix I think is doing fine, right? So ability usage definitely is a big thing as of the current moment. So let's see. Ability usage probably say goes to medium high priority. Ultimate usage we've actually seen doing pretty solid. Again, right, where I think we saw Dragon, which did okay. It didn't do great. And then Bob, we saw one other Bob before that, which did pretty good. So overall, probably say it's like a low to medium priority. Then you have mechanics. Mechanics definitely does need work because we've whiffed a ton of shots. crosshair placement needs work. I'd probably say target priority needs more work as well. We've talked about target priority before. Yeah, I see it's in the notes we have. So, we've talked about target priority. Probably say target priority still needs work, because we've been shooting a lot of tanks. Like if we were to go throughout the, our gameplay. In fact, why don't we do that real quick, just to look at target priority, and then we can just call out who we're shooting at, and so we can see it, and then therefore also like we can call it the angle in which we're on and show like, okay, well we're not on the right angle as of the moment, so we'll just 2 times speed this, or just go throughout it real quick. Okay, so as of the moment we're on shield, then Roadhog, and then we're on Hanzo, and then we're on Hanzo, and then Baptiste, and then we're gonna rotate around there maybe unnecessarily, and then we're going to be on the Junkrat, and then Lucio, and then we're back to Hog, right, and then we're on the Monkey, and then the Hog, and then the Hanzo, right, and then Junkrat, and then the Hog, and then the Shields, and then their whole team, and then the Monkey, and then the Hog, and then the Monkey, right, so we're still on the Monkey, and then the Shield, and then we run into the road, and then we come back, right, and then we're on the Hog, and then we're on the Hog, and then we're on the Monkey, and in the Shield, right, and then we're on the Hog, and then we're on the Monkey and the Hog, right, which here that there are only 2 people alive, so that's fine, right, so that's a situation where that would have been okay, and then we're on the Lucio, on the Junkrat, right, so that's all good, and then we pin people away with our ultimate, right, and then here, because these guys are overextended, this again is fine, so we don't have to worry about this one, right, but once their team walks back, right, then this is an issue.
I've seen worse.
Right.
Group up at my
So
position.
then we're on the Lucio, and then we're on the Junk, and then we're on the Hog, and we're on the Hog, right, and then we do a really long rotation.
Excuse me for
Okay. And then we're not really on anybody right now, we're just kind of not doing very much. Okay. There we just didn't participate for a long time, and then we're on the Reinhardt and the Shield, Ryan. Okay, we're dead. And then we didn't touch there. Okay, so that's round 1. A lot of
With
tanks.
every death,
So we'll see more of this, and then pretty much all frontal angles too, right? Where we're just coming from the front. Besides the one time where we're on the right, we never took high grounds, right? So now we're on Ryan, and we're on his team, and then Hog kills us. We come back.
the wolf.
Okay, we're on Junk, Hanzo, Ryan, Hanzo, Ryan. Okay, Junk, Hanzo, Roadhog, Hanzo. Okay, Ryan, Hog. Okay, didn't participate there. Ryan, Hog, more for half a second. Then we chase Hog around, and so now we're on Hog, right? Hog, and then Junk. And then we come in, and we go on Moira, right? Moira. And then we come back, and then we're on these guys, and then we're on Hog, and then we move on to do some other stuff, and we focus on the Junk, and we're on the Junk, right? And then we're on the Ryan. Then we're on Junk for a little bit, and then we're back to the, shooting at Lucio, and then we're back to looking at maybe we're in the Junkrat. Then we're on the Roadhog, right? So okay. Point being, we're on tanks too much, right? Is the point is that pretty much half of what I was saying was tanks, right? And it should not be half. There are only 2 characters on their team, and they're also the characters in which we're trying to intentionally not go for, right? Now, they're also intentionally trying to get you to go for them, right? That's their job, right, is to get you to shoot at them, but they're intentionally trying to, but you should be intentionally trying to avoid them, in which we're taking no effort to, right? We're not intentionally trying to avoid their tanks, right? In fact, we're just, we're kind of welcoming them, where we're intentionally going for them, right? So remember, we only go for tanks if they're out of position, if they're low, or if the only thing we can shoot at. And so far, we've also not taken any off angles. We've never gone left or right. We've talked about off angles before, right? We take a different angle to get around the tanks and shields. So we haven't taken high grounds that also act as off angles. So overall, not shooting at the right things as well. So sorry, that was a long tangent. We were talking about mechanics before. So ability usage is medium high. Ultimate usage was low to medium. Mechanics are probably going to be a medium high. Awareness is probably going to be like a medium, right? Just medium amount of just kind of all the odds and ends. Not paying attention to hog. Where's the enemy team at? Where's my team at? What's my health at? Right? Where what's happening in the fight? When should be getting aggressive and passive? And then also within mechanics, there's also that I missed was actions per minute, which we talked about actions per minute. Yeah, we did. Okay, so last time we talked about actions per minute, and we have a lot of downtime, right? Like we had the downtime when we chased the hog, and then we had the downtime in this last fight where we were like back here, right, like look at this downtime right here where we just don't participate. So we see the hog, our team's going in and getting aggressive, and we see the hog, and we see Lucian, and we just kind of sit here and back up, and we sit here and back up, and we kind of sit in, and we're sitting, and we're sitting, and then we finally start shooting and stuff, right? So it's like just this random 6-second pause where we could have been doing things when we weren't, right? And I think we thought we heard the tire, but tire was a mile away from us, right? So during that time, we could have been rotating right side and taking the high ground. We could have been running and shooting at things, right? We just didn't fully grasp what was going on there, right? So we were just actions per minute, making sure we're doing things, and we've seen a lot of instances of that where we've just taken long rotations or things that were unnecessary. Right, and then finally we have positioning, which probably would say goes to a medium, right? Make sure we're taking off angles, taking high grounds, making sure we're rotating in between fights and taking the best positioning possible in between fights, and make sure we're not going for long rotations in the middle of fights, right? And then that's pretty much the summary of where we're at currently.
This is my will.
Get over here and heal
Get
up.
into position.
Yeah, again, probably didn't do a ton with a health pack, right? Like everybody on our team's pretty much full HP.
I need to
Okay, and again, that was an in-between fight, so that would have been a perfect time to be maybe rotating to like the left or the right instead of sitting down main.
go to sleep.
Then they're shooting at hog and tanks and shields and hog and shields and Ryan and shields and Ryan. Okay, now Reinhardt's low, so and without a shield, so we should be shooting at Ryan, and then that's the time where we should be shooting at Ryan, and then we rotate away from looking at Reinhardt, right? So now this is a time where we should most certainly be shooting at Reinhardt, right? Except for we rotate to where we cannot see him anymore, whereas if we were just right here, we would reload and then continue to shoot Reinhardt, and then he'd probably be dead, right? So now this is a time where we should be looking at Reinhardt, and we're not looking at Reinhardt, right? So target priority is off there, make sure we're paying attention to his health bar. And we're shooting a Junkrat, it's fine, Helix to finish him off instead of, gunning him down. Alright. Everybody's full HP, pay attention to health bars, right? For the most part, like, probably like 80% of the time you're using your health pack, you're going to be using it for yourself instead of your team. So I probably hold on to it a little bit more because you're going to be wanting to use it during duels and stuff like that. Oh, pay attention to the pit so we're not dropping in, right? That was kind of the same thing as when we were walking to the cars. Just pay attention to our surroundings. That's awareness, right?
Almost ready. Surrender to my will. No.
And then we're shooting at the hog and the hog, and then we get hog, right?
I've got you in my sights.
Now we should be dropping a health pack because this now we're low, right? Now we actually need a health pack because we're 77 HP. So this would be a situation in which we should be dropping a health pack. If we're also looking at current positioning, we're out in the open, right? So positioning, we should either be positioning right back here or over here, and those would probably be the two best places where we could be. Or we could also be on the high ground currently, or over here alternatively, right? A bunch of different spots, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different spots we could be that would be better than where we currently are, right? So making sure we're using cover. Good positioning is usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. Pay attention to our health bar. Drop a health pack, right? Also, when we're visoring, who is the enemy team going to be looking at when we're visoring?
They're gonna be looking at me.
Sorry, your mic was really quiet. Can you say that again?
Me. They hear my visor.
Yeah, so they're going to hear your visor and they're going to look at you. So we can anticipate the incoming damage, in which case we can a lot of times we can plop a health pack down before we visor, because we know that there are going to be a lot of people looking at us and shooting at us, and it keeps us alive through our visor. And it means that we don't have to waste time during our visor to place down a health pack, right? So health pack before you visor instead of right now. Okay, almost walked into a Rhine charge there, lol. Okay, nice Helix. Helix is one ability that we have been landing, so that's good.
Get over
Though,
here,
didn't notice. I don't know if I noticed very much sprinting around. Like if we went to Soldier, I don't know if we sprinted around very much. So we sprinted when we come back from spawn, and then we stopped sprinting. We stopped sprinting, right? And let's see what's the next time we sprint. So we stopped, and we stopped. And there, maybe instead of just slowly walking forwards, we could have sprinted forwards, and we stopped. Right. Here we're shooting, so it's fine. And then, we stopped, and we're slowly walking forwards, and we have not sprinted so far in like the past 20 seconds. And we, again, we haven't sprinted. Still haven't sprinted. Alright, still haven't sprinted. Alright, still. Oh, yeah, there we sprinted for like half a second. Alright, which is good. That's the type of thing you want to be looking to do. Alright, and then we haven't sprinted. And then we sprint for a second. That's good. Alright, so.
everyone heal up.
And then we fall off, and then we sprint. That's good.
Surrender to my will.
And then we sprint a little bit more. That's good.
I've got you in my sights.
Alright, so overall, sprinted pretty infrequently. Probably say sprinting a little bit more often. So pretty much anytime you're ever moving anywhere without shooting, you should be sprinting, right? And we do that a couple times, like when we were coming back from over here and we just kind of slowly walked forwards, or, when we were, in a lot of other instances where we probably could have sprinted for like a half a second or more, right, where we just kind of don't sprint, right? So it's just making sure we're sprinting more often. It's just something we should be looking to do anytime we're ever moving somewhere.
Understood.
Okay, and then Reinhardt's our first target, so, when we have equal opportunity, we should not be shooting at Reinhardt. So equal opportunity would mean we can shoot at Mercy on the left just as easily we can shoot at Reinhardt on the right. That is true as of the moment, so we probably should be shooting at the Mercy, right? Is someone we should be shooting at. In fact, Mercy probably be a very easy kill as of the moment, right? Whereas Reinhardt has 500 HP, armor, a shield, pocketed by Mercy, and then almost has a BAP to immortality, and right. Whereas Mercy has 200 health, is not going to be self-healing if you're shooting at her, right? And is not going to have BAP because BAP is very far out of the way. So Mercy would be much better target to shoot at. And then here's Symmetra. We swapped the targets to Symmetra. Use Helix to finish off targets. Most of the time, the majority of the time, we're gonna be using Helix to finish off targets. I feel like we talked about that. Yeah, we don't see us doing that a lot. We just end up kind of like firing it in there every time we get the chance, right? Which is not what we should be doing with Helix, because it acts as a really good way to burst down someone's health. So here, for example, let's look at Baptiste, right? So we Helix in, we get Bap's 1 HP now. It'd be so easy to just Helix Bap and then he'd be dead right now, right? If we just had a Helix, right? If we take our Helix did like 20 HP to him, so like right now he would be probably like 100 HP or something like that, right? Helix would just be a very easy way to just burst down all of his health and get him out of the fight. Here we're also not looking at Bap even though he's low. Okay, now we do look at him. It's just very delayed. Okay, so we go for the Helix. Just we miss it. We whiff it.
The objective is now
Enemies
Okay. Oh, grab the health pack. You passed right by it. Alright, I'd probably say good job getting the Mercy while also staying alive. Here, there's a health pack right there in front of us, and we kind of run past it. Alright, and then we get it.
Patched up.
No. Mechanics, just aiming, tracking, right, working on that. Okay, we've talked about Helix in the floor soldier, right? We talked about that.
Or
Yeah, maybe we didn't talk about that. We're at 11:40. Let's talk about that real quick then. Alright, so when we are firing off our Helix, we should not be aiming directly at people, right? We should not. We're not. When we're firing off our Helixes, we're not going to aim right here on people, because if we were to miss, right, our Helix is just going to go sail. Oh, he walked into it. Okay, you're kidding me. All right, if we were to miss, our Helix would just go sailing past the person, right? It would do that. Okay, But if we instead aim at the person's feet, we still want to hit direct because direct does more damage. But if we were to aim at his feet and he were to dodge it, it still hits him because it gets splash damage, which means that we get the damage pretty much no matter what, right? Because we're aiming at the ground, right? Whereas a lot of the times when we're missing our shots, our helix is just going sailing past the person. So again, so you can see it sailing past the person versus if we were to aim at the feet, right? And we were to miss, then it's going to hit the ground next to them, which here they have like floating feet, so it'd be more like if we were aiming right here, right? And we were to miss, right now it hits the gets splash damage on top of them, right? So floor, right, where we get the splash damage. We don't want to aim at the floor, we want to aim at their feet, right? Maybe a better example too is like if we're standing right here, right, aiming at the floor, right, we miss. Or actually, I hit that. Snap, man. It's hard to miss shots until you mean hit them, right? We miss, still get the splash damage in, right? So we want to make sure we're aiming at feet instead of at their bodies with our helix. So we would look down a little bit more when we're doing it, and then also just sprinting anytime we're ever moving anywhere, right? So we would just walking around. We come up to the high ground. We're shooting. We reposition real quick. We're running over here, right? We're shooting. We're repositioning again. We're shooting. We're trying to dodge out shots. We're doing this, We're coming up here where we're shooting. Once we're shooting, we can stand still a little bit, right? But anytime and then once we try to rotate around, now we're sprinting again, right? So anytime we're ever moving anywhere on Soldier, we're sprinting, even if it's for like half a second, right? Like we can do this for like half a second and then immediately be shooting again, right? That's how fast you get out of your sprint, is we can be sprinting and then immediately start shooting. So there's no reason not to sprint, because we can sprint, shoot, sprint, shoot, sprint, shoot, sprint, shoot, right? There's very little delay, so there's no reason not to sprint, right?
Welcome to OA.
Protect the
I
objective.
require.
So there you see it go sailing past her.
Done, my friend.
Protect the
I
objective.
require healing.
Defend the objective.
I will heal you.
Okay, another helix that misses. It's kind of the same story as Storm Arrow and Dynamite, is that the majority of them are not getting value. Okay, standing a little bit close to the fight. Make sure keeping a medium distance. Also, good health pack though. That was a good health pack usage.
Meteor strike.
Surrender to my will.
Okay, good job taking out the immortality field. That was a good idea. Alright.
Enemy radar contact.
What just happened? Did we get Fire Strike and... I think we got Fire Struck and... yeah. That's unfortunate. Why did we die? What could we have done to prevent that?
Helix rocket went around took off and
Say that again?
either like shot him with the rockets or either went took an off angle instead of like going straight down the middle.
I'd probably say that was an awareness death, right? Where if we knew that there were people on our right side that were shooting at us, which we saw that there were people on the right side shooting at us, watch the orbs come through, right? Orb comes through. We can hear them, we can be looking right side and checking them. And if we are checking that, then we can see that there's an orb and a fire strike coming because they're projectiles and we can dodge it, right? So being aware of that would probably keep us alive, right? So just awareness again. Dropping a health pack, a little bit late of a health pack, right? Delayed health pack on top of that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Delayed health pack, and on top of that, we could maybe be using our sprint to run away at the moment. Is another thing we could be doing, because then we die again.
Duplicating Winston.
Get over here and heal up.
Probably no need for health pack. You have supports right next to you, so health pack is just wasted. Don't use health pack if you could just get healed up by your supports very, very easily, right? Here I'd be running right side, taking the off angle, taking the high ground. You have a sprint. You want to be using that. Here we want to be looking for our visor, which we'd get a lot more value from up top.
Got you in my sights.
Oh, that was good pre-aiming though. Alright, so here just would get a lot more value up on the high ground, but here as well, right, we have a Reinhardt on top of us, so we're just kind of trying to get away from people. Don't swap your targets so much, because we go to Symmetra, and then we swap to Mercy, and then we swap back to Symmetra, and then that means that we're not able to finish off anybody, so try to stick on one person, and that's going to be more efficient, and then we also just kind of are poor position, we just kind of run into their entire team and stand out in the open, right, which gets us killed. So this is a over aggression and positional death, right? Whereas we probably would have gotten a lot more value if we had just gone up to the high ground and shot them from above up here, right? So let's go back and we'll go over the main points, do a quick review, wrap up the session from there. So main points, right? Same stuff as it's been, right? So we went over Ashe, we went over a little tiny bit of Hanzo, and then went over Soldier, right? So probably say ability usage is number 1, which is not something I put at number 1 too very often. This is, and that's how you know I mean it, because ability usage is something that usually ability usage and ultimate usage usually get like mid-tier max and like how important they are for you to work on. If you combine the two, then they would probably be very high all the time, but individually ability usage usually and ultimate usage usually come in around, like they almost never come in the top 2, right? Almost never with people. Here, like ability usage definitely is a big problem, because with all of our abilities on every character, we pretty much whiffed like 8 out of 10 of the ones we went for, right? We would only land a good ability 2 out of 10 that we used, right? And on Ashe, it was even more than that. It was like 2 out of 12, right? So we want to make sure we're getting good usage of out of our abilities, so that we actually can, because this is an ability-based game, right? This game is an ability-based game. It's a hero shooter. You are going to be getting value out of your abilities, and your abilities are very powerful, so we want to be doing stuff with our abilities. So Ashe, make sure we're landing your dynamites, right? Throw them out, throw them straight, aim where it's going, maybe adjust downwards slightly, stand still. Don't stand still if it's a super long time that you're standing still, and also don't stand still if there's people looking at you, because then you're going to get melted, right? But you can still, and you also want to look to actively detonate it, right? Because we can still be moving around here and still be hitting it, right? Besides that, Coach Gun, look straight down if you're trying to use it to go straight up, right? Don't, and then also to get extra height, you can also jump right before you Coach Gun. So this would be normal Coach Gun. Actually, can I reach up here with normal Coach Gun? Okay, we can. Okay, so normal Coach Gun. This is a slope here, so let's see. Just to show you some tech stuff with this, right? Normal Coach Gun. Can't reach, right? Same place, right? Pretty much. We jump right before we Coach Gun, and now we're gonna get more height with it, right? Jump, Coach Gun. Oh, just we got up a little bit higher. You could almost see it, right? I don't want to spend too much time on that, but you just trust me on my word. Though it's like the difference between there and there, right? So you get the extra jumps worth of height, right? And that's pretty much it on Ashe. So make sure we're actually landing it, because we got 2 out of 12, right? Hanzo, don't waste all your storm arrows. We would we would basically just like go like this on somebody, and we'd be like, make sure you're using it when you see your crosshairs on top of somebody, right? Because we would like use it, and then with every single shot, like we would, and don't feel like you have to use every shot immediately, because we would kind of like go like this, and we'd go like this, right? Where we toss it in there, right? And we would end up missing like every single storm arrow for most of the storm arrows we used, right? So make sure we're intentionally thinking about how we're using it. Make sure we're keeping our crosshair on top of the person, and we're only using it if we see our crosshairs on top of the person. And make sure we're not using it all immediately unless we see our crosshairs on top of the person. If there's nobody there, then you just fire off 2, and then you hold on to the rest, because then you can use it on somebody else, right? Besides that, Sonic did fine, Leap did fine, Soldier sprint much more often, health pack when it's actually needed. We health packed way too often when it wasn't needed, and then Helix finish off kills and make sure we're actually landing our Helixes, aim at the people's feet with Helixes, right? And then those are the main things. Get value out of your abilities, right? Number 2 is going to be mechanics, right? Make sure focusing on our mechanics, make sure we're aiming at head level, make sure that we're trying to focus on how we're aiming, right? Besides that, good target priority. Make sure we're not shooting at tanks and we're shooting at supports and DPS instead, right? That's a big, massive thing. Actions per minute, make sure that we are having better actions per minute to where we're doing things much more often and not kind of sitting around. And now that I'm actually listing all these things out, I'm actually probably going to reverse the order there. Mechanics comes at a number 1, and then ability usage comes at a number 2, because no matter how, like, we and then that's just to go, that goes to show that, like, even though our ability usage is really, really bad, it still isn't enough to overtake one of the other more important categories. So I mean, like, just keep in mind though, is still very, very important that we get it down. Is because it's a number 2, right? So number 1 is mechanics. Number 2 is ability usage. Number 3 is going to be your positioning, making sure that we are taking high grounds because we never took high grounds. Making sure that we are taking off angles because we never took, or we took off angles like once, right? That'll get us around tanks and DPS, or sorry, tanks and shields, right? Make sure that we are positioning at our medium range on these medium range characters. Make sure we're using cover as these, good positioning is the usage of cover, bad positioning is the absence of cover. And then, that's pretty much it on those characters, right? Moving on, and also rotating in between fights to the best place possible, and then not taking long rotations in the middle of fights, right? And then 4 is going to be your awareness, paying attention to our health bar, paying attention to our teammates' health bars, paying attention to where's our team at, where's the enemy team at, listening, keeping our ears open to where people are at, making sure Hog's not flanking us and getting us killed. All right, so just paying attention to what's going on around us. And then finally comes ultimate usage, which is just a couple tiny little tweaks here and there, like not running into their team with a visor, right? But overall, good timing with the ultimates, and good job not holding on to them. So for the most part, we had good usage, just here and there things, though definitely not as important as the other ones, right? So that's pretty much it, man. Do you have any questions about anything we've gone over?
No, I don't.
Right, or just anything else in the game as well? No?
From what you can see on my aiming, am I aiming like am I like shooting behind them, like as far as my tracking?
Shooting behind them. That's not something that I was paying attention to. It could be. Which, I mean, a lot of the times when you're tracking, that is going to be the case. If you're poorly tracking, is that you are going to be shooting behind them and not, I mean, a lot of times it's not people shooting in front of them. It can be, but I'd probably say probably yes, but I wasn't, to be honest, I was not paying attention to how you were missing your tracking. Right, but that can be practiced in free-for-all. That is a really good place to practice it, but just in your normal games, but then also free-for-all in between queues is a good way to practice your aim, warm up before you hop into comp games. By free-for-alls, again, try hard free-for-alls are a really good place to do that, because it's no teammates, no objectives. It's just you and your duels and you and your aim, right? So just intentionally focus. That honestly would probably be one of the best places you could probably spend your time practicing if you're trying to practice your mechanics and your ability usage, because those are literally the only two things that matter within a free-for-all, right? Is how are you using your abilities and how are you using your mechanics, right? So still try to get in as many comp games as you can, but at the same time, in between queues, I'd highly recommend doing free-for-all, or if you're ever just wanting to do something that's not comp, recommend free-for-all, right? Just because it would be a really good place to practice how you're shooting and how you're using your abilities, right? Any other questions?
No, that's it.
All right, man. So let me stop the recording there then.